Be'ez Hashem Yisborach, we continue with the Hakdam of the Rambam to the Sefer Mishneh Torah, where he just finished mentioning the 40 generations of the Messiah from when the Torah was given by Hashem to Moshe Rabbeinu, all the way down to the compilation of the Gemara, down to Rav Ashi, who was together with Ravina. As the Ram continues, it says, Kol elach hacham haniskarim, all the sages that were mentioned, him gedoyel hadoyos, they were the great ones of the generations. Mehem, some of them were Rosh Hashivas, the head of the Talmudic academies. Mehem, some of them were Rosh Goliath, the head of the exiles. Mehem, some of them were Sanhedrin Kedoyla from the great court. Ve'imam, and with them, b'chol doy b'doy, in every single generation, were alafim, b'revavish, were thousands and myriad, shasham mehem, b'imam, that heard from them and with them. Now, the Ram now tells us, what was after those 40 generations was the compilation of the Talmud and the Midrashim. Rabbi and Rav Ashi, him soiv chachmei Talmud. They were the end of the sages of the Talmud. But Rav Ashi, who shechiba Talmud habavli be'er Shinnah, he is the one that authored the Babylonian Talmud in the land of Shinnah, which is Babylon. Achar shechiba Rabbi Yochanan Talmud Yerushalmi, after Rabbi Yochanan had already authored the Talmud Yerushalmi b'kamei me'yashana, like around 100 years after that. Now the shnei haTalmudim hu, the concept of these two Talmuds, are Pirush Divrei Mishnah, explaining the words of the Mishnah, Ubeir Kaisera, and elucidating its depth. With Varim Shnaschadchu, and all the things that were novel introduced, and from every single court, Mimois Rabbeinu Kodesh from the days of Yehuda Nasi, who composed the Mishnah, but Chibratam until the authoring of the Talmud. Mishneh Talmudim, from these two Talmuds, Talmud Bavli and Talmud Yerushalmi, Menatesefto, Mesefra, Pesefri, which we mentioned, Mikulim Yisbar, from all of them is explained Ha'asav Amutter, what's forbidden, what's permitted, Ha'tom V'ator, what's impure, what's pure, Ha'chayev Ha'potter, what's obligated, what's exempt, Ha'posel V'akosher, what's invalid, what's valid. Kamoshe Tiku Ish Mipi Ish, the way it was passed down one person from another person, Mipi Moshe Rabbeinu Messina, all the way going back from the mouth of Moshe Rabbeinu from Har Sinai. Now it's also explained from them things that the prophets and the sages decreed in every single generation to make a boundary for the Torah, like they actually explicitly heard from Moshe Rabbeinu to do this. Like says the passage in the Yikra, you should safeguard my safeguard, which is asu mishmeres l'mishmarti, make a safeguard for my safeguard, that we have to make boundaries that the primary Torah is not breached. It's also explained from them, meaning from these sources, the Talmud and the Midrashim, the customs and the institutions that were instituted, or that were practiced in every single generation. Like it was, they saw fit from the court of that generation. Because it's forbidden to stray from the path of the sages. It says in the pasuk in the bottom, you should not stray from the word which they tell you whether to be right or to the left. Also, judgments and halachas that wondrous that were not received from Moshe Rabbeinu, but that was educated by the courts of that generation, but which are through the pure principles that the Torah is expounded with them. There are many principles that could be expounded by the sages of every generation. And those elders, they decided and they concluded that is the halacha. Hakol Chibur Avashi Talmud, everything was put together by Avashi in the Talmud, from the days of Moshe Rabbeinu until his days. Now, the sages of the Mishneh period also authored other compilations to explain the words of the Torah. You have Rabbi Hoshio, who's Talmid Shabbein HaKodesh, the student of Rabbi Yehuda Nasi. Chibur, he authored a Beir on Sefer Bereshis. An explanation of Sefer Bereshis is called Bereshis Rabbah. He explained from Sefer of Shemais until the end of the Torah. It's called the Mechilta. Rabbi Kiva also authored a Mechilta, but it's called, the word Mechilta actually means like a measurement, but it's actually called Mechilta de Rashbi, and that was based on the halachas that Midah Shatod and Jeshbehen. Now the sages that came after them, they compiled Midrashim, expositions. Now they were all authored before the Babylonian Talmud. Now regarding the thrust of the Talmud, Nimtza comes out, Ravina Ravashi Ravashi and their colleagues, they're the end of the great sages of the Jewish people, that have passed on the oral law. That they made certain decrees, which a gezerah is like a boundary to distance people from sinning. Like, for example, the prohibition of eating chicken with milk, because one might come to eat animal meat with milk. Or Veskin Takanas, they instituted certain institutions to strengthen the Jewish tradition, like laning on Mondays and Thursdays. Vinhigum and Haggis, and they also instituted certain customs that there should be, like clapping the Hashanas on Hashana Rabbah. Upashtu gzeiroisam v'tekonoseim u'menegeseim, which are these three entities, and their decrees, and their institutions, and their customs were manifested b'chol Yisrael, amongst all the Jewish people, b'chol makom moshe and all the places where they're settled. Now, v'achar beis din shel Rav Ashi. Now, after the court of Rav Ashi, shechibra Talmud u'gemara b'mei benai, which he authored the Talmud and he finished it in the days of his son, Mab Rav Ashi. Nispaz Yisrael b'chol aratzis piza yesen. Now, after his time, then the Jewish people were scattered in all the lands of the world, very much scattered. They reached the corners to very far distant islands. And there was much strife in the world that increased. And the roads had been ruined with troops. And that decreased the learning of Torah. No more did the thousands and the myriads gather of the Jewish people to learn in their yeshivas like it used to be. Rather, individuals gathered. The remnants of Hashem, the remnants of Hashem that called from every single city and every single land. They toiled in Torah, and they understood all of the compilations of the sages. And they knew the path of judgment, how it is. Now, every court that came up after the Talmud, Medina, in every single land, Gaza made a decree, or made an institution, or made a certain custom for the people of his country, or let's say for the surrounding countries. His actions did not spread throughout the Jewish people because of the distance of their settlements and the inability to get through the roads. Now, since the courts of those states are individuals, and the great high court of 71 judges was already void for many years before the Talmud was composed. So therefore we don't force the people of this state to do like the customs of another state. We don't say to this court to make a decree that another court in his state had made a decree. So if, let's say, one of the Go'anim, which was the sages after the Talmud, taught that the way of judgment is like this, and that was explained to another court that came up after them. That's not the way of the judgment that was written in the Talmud. They disagreed. You don't listen to the early one. Only to the one that the intelligence would be inclined to his words, whether the early one or the later one, because it's already after the Talmud, and then we don't give any more precedence necessarily in the same Gaonic period to one that came before and to the one that came after, but to the one that it seems is likely the right one.